Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Gareth, and I'm part of the international team here at Edmonton. Our webinar today will focus on the implementation of ExactPath at the Liwa International School for Girls. And it's my pleasure to welcome Kate Hutchinson and Shakila Mohammed to present for us today. But just before we get started, it's just a little bit of housekeeping. You'll see a comments box on your screen, and so we welcome and encourage you to type in your questions and comments, and we'll cover those at the end of the presentation. But now I'll hand over to Kate and Shakila.
All right, hi everyone, good afternoon. So my name is Kate Hutchinson and I am the Vice Principal at Liwa International School for Girls from KG through to grade 5. And with presenting me today is Miss Shakila, and she is the Assistant Principal for K to 5.
Hello everybody, good afternoon.
All right, so today's agenda, I'll just get Shakila to get great. So we'll talk a little bit about our school and what we did before we had ExactPath. We'll talk about kind of identifying the need for a learning platform that really catered to math assessments. So we'll look at the kind of building blocks that were put in place to ensure ExactPath was a success. Then I'll talk through some top tips and kind of the results of that, the results of those after the implementation, and what successes we've had as a result of ExactPath. And then after the end, we'll end with some questions and answers. All right, so a little bit about our school to start off with. We are a school just outside of Al Ain in the UAE. So about an hour's drive from both Abu Dhabi and Dubai. We're quite a new school. We opened in 2016. We have a very good reputation in the local community. We're part of Liwa Education, which is a group of schools. At the moment, we have around 833 girls on roll. Our cohort is mainly the local community. So we have 92% Emirati, and the others are Arabic speakers. So around 97% of our students have English as a second language. We've had a few inspections since we've opened, including ones by ADEC. That's kind of the local inspection authority in the UAE for the Abu Dhabi Emirate. We were very, very proud of ourselves because within 8 months, we were rated a Band A school. We follow the American curriculum, so the Common Core standards. And then a big part of our data collection is through NWEA MAP, and we've used that since we started in 2016 to make sure that our girls are benchmarked against international assessments. They're done in September, then we do it mid-year in around January, and then we do it at the end of the year. Unfortunately, this year we didn't do it in term 3, but we do have some good data to show from term 1 to term 2. So the first thing is to talk about is that we are very proud of being a digital campus. We embed lots of digital solutions in different ways into the curriculum. We have a Lego curriculum, robotics. We also have online platforms to support core subjects as well. As soon as the girls come to us in KG1, we kind of ensure that they're digitally competent. For example, they take photos of the work that they do in class and then upload it to a platform so their parents can see it at home. That's completely independent, so we're quite proud of that. And then that's kind of how ExactPath came up. All right, so I'll talk a little bit about what happened before we had ExactPath in kind of preparing children for the MAP assessments. So from our start, so from 2016, we've always had outstanding progress. We did need to raise attainment in the MAP subjects, so in reading, language, science, and maths. So we looked at putting in provision to ensure the girls are successful at each, map point. We did this in a number of ways. We embed map questions in, different parts of the lesson. When we get our map data in September, we ensure that we sit with the teachers for people progress, ensure that they are put into differentiated groupings in class, into know that the teachers and the teaching assistants who are supporting the girls have a good understanding of RIT scores and what skills are appropriate for each RIT band. So then that's when we kind of looked on the internet for lots of map resources. We looked at using, practice sheets from various different websites. We always used to share our resources with teachers. Teachers would share with each other, but we found that this was quite bulky. It was not flexible. There was lots and lots of printing and laminating. It was very hard to maintain. We had lots of resources from lots of different websites using the different RIT bands, but we found that was very time consuming, and the quality, obviously greatly varied from different websites or, different worksheets that we're using as part of the classroom routine. So that's when we kind of came across another school in the area that was using ExactPath. And then we thought that this would be, an ideal opportunity to kind of reduce this varied quality map material that we have. So I'm going to let Shakila take over now, and she's going to talk a bit about the kind of implementation of ExactPath in the school.
Hi everybody, this is Shakila here. So as Kate mentioned, our teachers were really working hard and smart to find ways to incorporate map prep into the classroom learning. But this wasn't enough, as our school improvement plan was to raise the attainment in all students, especially the ones presently in the borderline. We needed something that can be more effective and smart, and also that we have a majority of our girls are EL students, and the program we need must have something that provides them with a lot of map related vocabulary development besides the question types. We also wanted our girls to be well versed with the format of the map assessment, which was very important. So the question was, which application or platform will provide us or our girls with the intervention that they needed? As Kate mentioned, we looked at another school, and we contacted Edmonton, and Molly and Danny came up with this perfect solution. They introduced us to ExactPath at the start of the last year's academic year. This platform took our girls' map baseline scores, and as Kate mentioned, we do map tests thrice. The first one serves as a baseline for our girls. The map scores were fed into ExactPath, and a personalized learning path was created for each student. ExactPath would look into the areas the student needed improvement or intervention and set up lessons, practice sheet, assessments to be mastered. The teachers could look into reports generated in the platform and find the areas that they need to focus on each student or a group as per the need. This made the job much more easier. I must say the teachers were really happy with it. The challenge part, the challenge task in the exact part was really good for the high order and the gifted students. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through how we implemented exact path into our system, into our learning system. The first thing that we did was to pick a couple of enthusiastic teachers to buy into the program, because that's the most difficult part. We found a couple of teachers, one of which was myself. I was a teacher then, and we took a trial run on the platform, and the feedback was very positive. So we picked a group of teachers now to run the pilot program in each grade level. We call them as the super users. Slowly weighing in the pros and cons, working alongside with Danny, and we started providing PDs to set up exact path in our school. So the teachers were provided with PDs, some guided tutorials, top tips by the super users, And very strategically, slowly, we started aligning all the building blocks in the school. The first step, as I mentioned, was prepping our teachers. The second step was to have the IT department set up the digital equipments, which is here. So the first thing was they took up the map scores and it was sent to exact path, the baseline scores, and the learning path was created for each student. The student and teacher logins were created, distributed through emails and on hard copies. Simultaneously, SLT created an introductory video for parents, which is both in Arabic and English, to let them know about exact path's importance, its connection to map assessment preps. Simultaneously, the teaching and learning department worked on adapting the curriculum to fit exact path. We brainstormed, we came up with ideas with our MLT team, which is the middle leadership from each grade level. Some of them suggested some great ideas, which was shifting the homeworks online using exact path. We also had ideas of exact path to be a major part of the rotation sessions, the guided reading lessons, the mental math lessons, and setting up challenges for the HA and GNT for in-class challenges. We also use exact path to set up holiday homeworks for spring breaks and winter breaks. Monitoring and tracking, which is extremely essential to guide us as educators for the next steps. And this was what we did at LISD. We had meetings with middle leaders every week as a group or individually to go through the reports, discuss the what went well, the even better ifs. This served as a fodder to adapt and make changes as we went ahead. Some of the great things that came out of these meetings were the cusp club, or the sparkle club as we call it. These are the kids who are working in the borderline, just right under the attainment grade level, and we wanted to push these girls to raise our attainment, and we concentrated on these kids. The morning clubs, where the girls were asked to come in early, or some of the girls who came in early were put in one group, and one of the teaching staff would sit with them and work on their learning path. This was done in each grade level. Well, the next is the motivation. Well, motivation is really important to all of us, and so we had motivation as the key to push exact path in our system. We had programs to celebrate student success, and also teacher success. Some of the awards that we gave out: the best class for exact path, best reader, the best mathematician, teacher of the month. Teacher of the month, we gave them some gift certificates, some goodies, which really pepped up the teachers, and they were on and they wanted to use exact path more and more into their classroom. The next was preparing all the stakeholders, which was very important, as our parents, as you know, are mostly Arabic speaking, and they need a lot of support digitally as well. So we made several videos, both in Arabic and English, for our parents to introduce them to this platform, guides, tutorials, how to use this application, how to look and read the report, how to find badges for the student, stuff like that. Besides this, we also used to have a one-to-one chat with parents through our termly parent conference. The IT department also set up help counters to assist parents who were struggling with anything regarding to the platform. And we also had super student users from each grade level who used to take up the thing to talk with parents and help them out, understanding exact path and how to use it. Of course, this was all done before COVID, but having exact path really helped us with this COVID distance learning, because the children already had their learning path and we didn't have to stress on um, practicing or prepping them for the upcoming. When we start in September, we'll have our baseline, and the girls are already prepared because they have been continuously working on their exact path learning path. that's all from me. I'll let Kate sum up and give you all some super tips that we use in our school.
Great, thank you so much, Shakila. So I just wanted to give you some quick tips that are quite easy to integrate. As Shakila mentioned, the teachers at our school have been so on board with Exact Path, and they've come up with these really good ideas. I'm not very good with kind of ICT, so they've come up with some really good ideas to integrate it into the classroom, since they're the ones teaching all day. So the first real success was the early morning club. Kids at our school can come into school from 7 a.m. And then assembly starts at 7:30 a.m. So there's a good solid 30 minutes for them to work on their learning path. And we give incentives for them to come in a little bit early. We've appointed digital champions, both adults and children. So in each class, we'll make sure that there's a few children who go and teach their classmates if they're having trouble on Exact Path. We also came up with the idea of a buddy scheme, where we identified some students who needed a little bit of support with their learning path, and they go to an adult once a week. It could be the receptionist, it could be the translator, and they just sit with them and then talk through their learning and become like a teacher. So they teach us how to use Exact Path, because of course, like they're not using Exact Path on a day-to-day basis. Shakila talked a little bit about certificates and rewards. That's been a real good way to motivate students on a weekly basis. We also have holiday champions. So when they come back after a holiday, we give rewards and prizes for girls who've really worked hard at their learning path. Parents' evening, we'll have the Edmentum video on loop as they come into the school, so they can just kind of see, you know, the Exact Path logo, things like that. Most of the things that we get from Edmentum, we translate to parents. There's an example on the screen there. That goes out onto Class Dojo. We also do digital assemblies through our COVID time. So we've done digital assemblies where we'll mention our digital platforms, Edmentum being one of them. And then we have a big part of our interventions are done by the teaching assistants. So the teaching assistants have been trained in Edmentum in Exact Path as well. So when they take children, either in a small group or a one-to-one basis, they can navigate around the platform as well. So that's really helpful for them. And then finally, we'll kind of just talk about it at every opportunity. You know, if a child's in the playground and they're on an iPad, you know, we might mention to them, are you on your learning path? What skills have you done? So they get very knowledgeable about their kind of learning goals and things like that. So those are some tips there. All right, so just some kind of key results. So although we didn't do MAP assessments in term 3, from term 1 to term 2 this year, we've seen the best in terms of attainment. So we've seen the biggest attainment jumps from term 1 to term 2 this academic year. So that's been a real, you know, a real win. We're very proud of that. And that's definitely, you know, Exact Path has definitely had a part to play in that. The next one, increased engagement with students' knowledge of MAP goals. We really feel that the girls understand their kind of skills, their MAP skills a little bit better than before. We've always been, you know, transparent with their RIT scores and what they need to work on to get better with that goal setting. But now, because they're working on it in a digital way, they can see, you know, those medals and things. So that's been quite powerful. And definitely teacher workload. So when we kind of go to the reprographics room now, it's less kind of busy than it used to be in the past. We feel like definitely we've reduced, you know, quantities of paper being printed out. Definitely more quality in terms of the MAP prep. And then
Yes.
we bought this. We bought into Edmonton way before this. Way before we knew COVID was going to happen. But thankfully, with COVID, Exact Path has been a real good part of our distance learning journey. Each week, when we sent out a weekly overview to parents, Exact Path was always integrated into the weekly learning. We know that children can do this at home independently without much support from a parent and get on with their skills, with their math skills. So that's been a real good benefit to us as a school when you know, children were distance learning and not coming into school at all. When we come back to school in September, it still won't be probably 100%. There'll still be some time where they spend some time doing distance learning at home, and we'll still integrate Exact Path as part of the weekly overview when they get their kind of distance learning overview each week as well. So those are the big gains that we have from Exact Path, and this is all the way from grade 1 up to high school. We found that it's a platform that works well across the whole school, you know, so that's been a real good benefit as well. Okay, so that's it from Shakila and myself today. I hope you found it useful, and you can kind of steal some tips and use them in your school if you choose to use it. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks to both of you. That was really, really interesting. I mean, particularly, I really liked the tips you gave, and some of the talking about the Sparkle Club, was it, and the morning clubs, and using Exact Path for those. I think it's a really good idea. And we've had just some questions and some comments that I just want to ask, if that's okay, and some of my own questions too.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of the last few months is going to be framed around lockdown and the COVID outbreak, and using Exact Path and digital learning in a different way to how you might have used it before. But how has that gone? Have you been able to integrate things like Exact Path into your lessons? How do you do your lessons online since lockdown?
So since lockdown, when children have been doing 100% of the work at home, we've used Exact Path normally on a Thursday. We use Thursday as like an online learning day where they have to work on their targets using their online platforms. Exact Path obviously being the major one. Sometimes we have integrated into different lessons. So if they've been working on, you know, something in maths, a particular skill in maths, and we'll direct it to that skill. Shakila, did you want to add anything to that?
Yes, what Kate said, like we integrated in the lessons. Say, suppose if it's an English lesson and you're doing reading and specifically working on something related to phonics or a special reading skill, then the teacher adds a challenge for the kids on Exact Path and gives them that at the end of the overview, saying 10 minutes spend time on Exact Path completing your challenge on reading or on writing, something like that.
Yeah. And it's been a real good benefit to the parents as well, because obviously you know, parents have been supporting children at home, but they know with Exact Path their children can do it independently. They don't need much support. So that's been beneficial as well.
Yeah. And do you get them on the system a certain amount of time every week? I know you mentioned Thursdays usually, but is that extended?
Yeah, normally the expectation is that they spend 20 minutes a day on online platforms, you know, Exact Path being the major one again. And then on a Thursday, it's kind of a dedicated day just for that. And then we track and monitor that to see, you know, which is the best class, who have the best students been, so we can reward them, or then follow up if a child hasn't really been logging on as much as we would hope.
Right. Yeah. And is that, do you go into secondary with that as well? Do secondary students use this?
Yes. Yeah, and we've had good gains as well from our middle school as well. They enjoy using it too.
Brilliant, yeah, because just to let everyone know, it does go up to grade 12. So even though the students in high school might be struggling, you can upload their MAP scores and get the same sort of activities for those students as well. So have you found gains in that respect so far, or are you early days with that?
Yeah, definitely. We know that our middle school teachers are really on board with it too. Our reading map always has, you know, the slightly lower resourcing, so it's been a real key part of, you know, English lessons. So it's definitely something that's used throughout the school.
Great. I've had a question come in. How much time do you think ExactPath has saved you a week in terms of gathering all the data and documents?
Oh,
Oh
that's a
my
good
God.
question. So
Yeah.
much. I was in class a few years ago. I was teaching grade 5 English, and I know from my own experience, Shakila has her own experience. She's in grade 2, and our teachers have also had lots of experience with trying to troll the internet on various different websites. So now we know confidently we can use this as a rotation in guided reading.
Yes. Yeah.
The TAs as well, the teaching assistants, you know, are superb at supporting children. They were trying to find their own kind of resources. Again, taking a long time, but now they can use as one of their intervention support ExactPath. So it has, I can't really put a number on how many minutes a week, but definitely has reduced workload in terms of kind of finding quality, you know, quality good stuff that's matched to each RIT band, because of course within
Yeah.
one class you've got students working at all different RIT bands. So finding quality resources to fit the needs of all students in one class is a challenge, but at least with ExactPath, it's helped us a lot with
Yeah.
that workload. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll add to Kate's. It was a major physical and mental workout for us. As a teacher, I used to run around like a headless chicken sometime, putting resources together. Even though I had some in my classroom, I would go to a grade 4 to look for something 200 and above. I would go there, request for some. I had to go upstairs, run down. Used to take a lot of time and energy. But now with having that on a small little tablet, I just give it to the group and they sit down there and they're working on their learning path or a challenge that I set up for them. If it's a reading challenge and they're working on that independently, absolutely perfect. It has saved hours of prep work.
No, that's good to hear. That's really good.
And I think especially if any other schools are new to MAP assessments, then it's really helpful in terms of like the language and the way the
Absolutely.
questions are set up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which I think has been really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it follows on to another question we've had. It says NWA has its own MAP skills program using adaptive assessment systems. So how does this differ? I don't know if you have any experience in that. I can answer that if you don't, but have you used MAP's own skills program?
So
Mm,
I'm not
no,
sure.
we
Sorry.
haven't used the map skill thing, but we do use the map practice test that they have on their website, which was really very, say, small, and it was very repetitive. It's the same thing, same questions. What ExactPath does is it has it works with a common core and also the map style of questions. So it's really good to have those questions in there, that vocabulary and everything. And also an advantage is it picks up what the child is weak at, and it gives them the practice lessons, the worksheets and the assessments, so the kid can build on the skills on that particular skill.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I was going to say. I've a little bit of know a bit about the skills program, and what ExactPath does is automatically set that work. So once
Yeah.
you've uploaded that data, the students have an automatic learning path program ready to go,
Mhm.
rather than having to still allocate that work, which still obviously takes a lot of time to select and pick that. So it's the automatic nature of it, I think, that's the main difference. But do you, in terms of other resources and other printouts and things, do you still do that? Do you have any other solutions that you work alongside this?
Yeah, we definitely still use some of the resources that we've used pre-Edmentum. So that's still part of kind of the teaching and learning, as well as some other online platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Okay.
topic related, whatever work it is, we do differentiate that, and the teachers do have to make those worksheets and print it out. But then the next step would be if a kid finishes her work quickly, then she goes on to exact path, and the teacher's already set up a challenge for her, which is linked to the topic that she's teaching at the moment. So it's a nice challenge task for them. Yeah.
Right. And obviously since, well, speaking to a lot of schools, they've been enabled to do their map test since lockdown, and that poses its own challenges. But have you been able to do your map test? And then if not, have you been able to use ExactPath in a way to help with the progress?
Yeah, so it definitely helps in terms of kind of tracking progress. It's definitely part of the puzzle that we use. We were unable to do term 3 map assessments, but once we come back in August, we'll be able to do kind of the baselines again. So it definitely helps kind of track skills. We can see an overview of a class and see which girls have achieved which skills. So it's definitely a good part of that assessment piece, especially during distance learning when we made it part of the weekly overview.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, that's all the questions I have that have come through, but I just want to thank you both again for putting that together for us. It's really interesting to see how you use it, ExactPath, and a little bit more about your school. So yeah, thank you both so much for doing this today.
Thank you. It was wonderful sharing our things with you.